Looking for a way to weave a round rug, not a square or a rectangle, a round rug? Watch today's video and I will show you how. On our channel DIY on the House, I have been having a ton of fun weaving rugs. I have done large rugs, small rugs, table runners, everything. But the number one question I get is there a way to weave a round rug? But today I am going to show you how you can use a simple 23-inch embroidery hoop, or quilting hoop, I believe it's called, and you can weave a round rug. You can find this hoop on Amazon. I have the link down below. I actually found this one for $5 at a estate sale, so keep your eye out for it, but it is a fantastic, fantastic way to weave a round rug. Throughout the video, I'm going to hopefully stress, and if I don't, I'm going to stress it now, keep reminding yourself to weave very loosely. On a circle, when you're weaving, that if you get tight, all you will do is create a bowl. And I promise you, I have created several bowls trying to figure out how to do this. I'm not professional at this yet, but I have mastered it enough to be able to show you how you can weave a round rug. So let's get started. I've picked black for my base foundation for the rug. So what I've done here is I've taken the inner hoop from the quilting hoop and took marking soap. So if you're using, here's a tip for you, if you're using a dark fabric, soap works really well. So I've drawn a circle on the inside of my hoop, and then I've taken a ruler and I've marked approximately an additional 4 inches on the outside of that circle. The outside line is the cut line. The inside line is a stitching line. We need to use the same color thread, and sew on the inside line, cut on the outside line. But before you sew it, I am going to put interfacing. So this is a piece of woven fuse interfacing. I order this off of gotinterfacing.com. It's fantastic interfacing because you're going to want a nice stable center on your project. Okay, I have the circle cut out. I'm going to leave this as an outside layer so that I can use my stitching line. So on the back side, I'm going to go attach the fusible interfacing. Once it's attached, I'm going to put them together and stitch around my line so the interfacing will be in between your 2 layers. I have my stitch line sewn, and hopefully you can't see it because that's the idea. You want to use the same color thread. And so big picture of what's going to happen here, this border around will become your rug edging, but we're going to use this edging to make snips in it so then we can use that snip to draw to the center so you know where to cut your lines so that we can make the warping. So in all seriousness, the preparation to get your foundation ready might seem a little lengthy, but a good foundation, as we all know, even in scripture, a good foundation is important. And so it's important in this as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the center. So I'm just going to fold my circle in half and half again, and take my soap and mark a dot for the center. And while I have my circle folded here, on the edge through both layers of your fabric, put just a little snip, and this is just for purposes of being able to know where your lines need to be drawn from. So I'm going to go through all the layers there. While I have it folded, I'm going to fold it one more time and cut a snip here. And we'll unfold this. If you're using a lighter fabric, your marking pencil needs to wash out because this dot is going to be shown on your final rug. So that dot there needs to be able to disappear when you're done with it. But now you have a snip here, and we're going to draw a line from that snip to the center. There's another one there, so I'm going to draw a line from there to the center and go around the circle as such. Okay, the next step is to make these even smaller divisions. And so the way I found to make that happen is I just folded this section to there, matching up my snip marks from before, and make another snip, fold it again, and make another snip. And so now you have 1, 2, 3 marks in between your larger ones. So I'm going to do that all the way around, match up your big lines, snip, fold it again, and snip. Okay, I've went around the circle and I have an extra 3 marks on each one. And so, as you can guess, we need to make lines from those. Okay, so now you can see what the big picture is. We have, these are going to be your warp cutting lines, and we're going to weave in between them. But this is where I discovered there's a problem. Out here is too wide for a warp, and in here is too skinny that if we cut all the way in on these lines here, this would be so thin that it would break. And as we start to do the next step, you can see why interfacing makes a big difference in this, because it has to be stiff. So what I am going to do, I have just found a wide mouth canning lid, and I'm going to roughly center that over the center of the rug and draw a circle. And I am going to, these will get all cut all the way down, but when I get to this line, I'm only going to cut every third one. So on the inside here, every third line is what is going to get cut. And so I wanted to have kind of a uniform of where my weaving would be. On my prototype, I stitched around that circle, which I think I'm going to do again because it kept it nice and tight. Okay, I've stitched around there just for reinforcement, and so I don't know if that's absolutely a requirement. But now you have to find another circle object, and this one is just a bottle cap. And I am going to draw around, kind of line that up in the center, and make a center circle, and that inside that circle, nothing is going to get cut. So that's why I was saying earlier that these markings in here, those will be shown. So you need to make sure that those will disappear so with your marking pencil. So what I'm going to do now, I'm actually going to pick which ones are going to get cut all the way to the center. So I'm just going to use a rotary cutter to make my marking. Again, I'm not going to cut into the center. I'm using a little ruler just for marking purposes. So there's one. So that one is cut there. You can see my interfacing in the middle. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to cut one here. Not going past that center line. And do that all the way around, going every third one. 1, 2, 3. And I'm just doing this mark so then I can continue cutting it. But as I said, do everything in baby steps, because if you cut this wrong, then it's kind of hard to put it back together. So that one's cut. Okay, so what happens at the end? There's 3 in between these ones. There's only 2 in between this one. No big deal. I can guarantee you could not tell that on the rugs when you're done. So I went every 3. If I did every 2 on my prototype, it's on my practice, way too bulky. So do every 3, but that one there is 2. So that's totally good. So here's what it looks like right now. You have slits just to give you your markers. And at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and take my scissor and continue out to that last, or to your stitch line. So don't cut through your stitch line, just go right up to it. Okay, it is starting to take shape. It might feel like this is taking a lot of steps, but it really does go pretty fast once you get going. So again, big picture, we are going to cut only every 3rd one out to that first stitch line. And so from that stitch line on, we can cut the remaining 2 in between there. But then there's even one more step that we'll need to do because that is too wide. So go ahead at this point and cut from your center stitch line, cut the remaining lines all the way to the edge. Okay, it is really, really close. But one more step, like I had said, when I was weaving, this is way too big of a weave on the outside. So from a certain point out, we need to divide these sections so that they are smaller. So what I found is I'm going to use a dinner plate, and this is, what is this one? This is a 10 3/4 dinner plate. So it's, unfortunately though, you can't see through it. So to make sure that it is relatively on the circle, I'm just setting a ruler down here, and I need to have it a little bit over 5 inches on each side. And I am going to draw a circle there. But that looks really good. So it doesn't have to be super precise because this is just a line that you are going to use now to divide the next layer. So get your ruler one more time, and we are going to just split the center of each of these. No major precision is necessary on your measurement. So just go around each one and visually divide your section and then cut that section. So that's what we're going to do all the way around. We're going to cut from this center circle from the dinner plate line out to the edge. And when we're done with that, then we finally get to start weaving. The foundation is finally ready to start weaving. So for this one, this is my color palette. I'm going to be doing black, gray with a cream mixed in with burgundy. So I don't know if this is going to be the full amount that I use, but from what I've done, this should be enough. So I am going to show you how we get started. I have all of these rolled in balls. They are not joined continuously, so there's just little strips. So even short little strips, a couple feet long, work well on scrap projects like this. They are all cut or ripped approximately 1.5 inches wide. And literally these are scraps. This is actually a bed sheet. And this came from an old curtain. So just use whatever you have available. But we finally get to put it on the loom and just kind of center it, especially in the beginning. It doesn't matter. This is why we left about 4 inches on the outside so that the loom will grab on really nice. So we have the loom underneath. And now I'm going to put the top on that has the adjustable measurement, or the adjustable screw here, and tighten it up. Okay, we finally get to start weaving. We have the fabric in the frame, and it doesn't need to be exactly center, but I'm going to do one piece, and that will be my front and back weaving fabric. And so we're going to go between our slits and we're going to go in a counterclockwise motion. And so remember, we have some slits that are big here, and then we've divided them, and then we've divided them even more. So take your one slit or your one piece of fabric and go underneath your slit. The piece that is going to go from the right to the left goes up and comes out. There it is, comes out your next hole. This one is right to left, goes up and goes under and comes out your next hole as well. And the reason I'm making a stress about this one going up, as you get going, there is a distinct rhythm of this curving to the right. So let me turn this a little bit more. Not curving to the right, curving up, I should say. So we're going to just make that goes up, this goes up, and you just continue around your circle. What is super important is do not pull these tight. Our tendency is to give it a good pull and make it nice and snug. Keep it relatively loose, and every 2 inches maybe, take it off your loom and make sure that it is laying flat, because this is my prototype that I have worked on and ripped out and worked on and ripped out. It will not lay flat. I pulled this super tight, so because I thought, oh my goodness, it looks beautiful on the loom, and I never took it off the loom until I was done, and this is what the prototype looks like. So take it off of the loom every couple inches and go nice and loose, but you can see what I was referring to on, they're all going in the same general direction by having them go right to left, going up, and it looks super cool. So word to the wise, don't go tight, and take it off of the loom every couple rows to make sure it's laying flat. And so now we're going to our second row, and you just continue, and it's just round and around. And this one's getting short, so I want to join a piece to it. I am not doing any sort of pattern or rhythm. I'm just going to make it random. So you fold them, lay them on top of each other, fold them over about 1 inch, put a little snip on the fold, lay them end for end, line up that slit, and push the tail through the back side and pull it tight. So now that becomes your next one that we are going to weave around. And so we just continue in the same motion. When we get to this one here, you can see that there's a new slit. I'll probably go one more row, and then I will start weaving in these slits here. Okay, we are now to where there's more slits for the next level. So it's just super simple. Now we're going to go in between each one of these and continue. So this one is going to go up and over. It actually had me wondering in the beginning of my prototypes, the one that I've been practicing on, it just doesn't have a really cool look at this stage, but I promise you it does once you get going. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off the loom. And this is a critical thing to do. Take it off, spread it out. If there is any little bit of it curling up, then that's telling you that you're pulling it too tight, and then you can loosen it up. These are really nice and loose, but I think that that's super. I wouldn't change this at all. This one, it might be a little loose there. So I'm going to just pull that and adjust. But for the most part, I think I'm going to continue at this rhythm. I've taken the rug off of the loom, and I just have it laying on my table. This is the second, maybe third time that I've taken it off, just to make sure it is laying flat, and it is working fantastic. So nice and loose. Keep your weaving nice and loose. What you do need to do is use your fingers and squish in to the center as you go. When it's on the loom, just squish it in, and that gets it nice and tight. but don't be tempted to pull it this direction, because that's when the bowl effect takes into play. So it's going really good. I'm going to continue. As you can see here, we're getting really close to the next division. As I weave and get to that area, then I'll start weaving in between that gap and continue to the edge. I have finished weaving clear out to the edge. There's about, I'd say, a finger width left on the edge, but this is so compact that once I get my edging finished, I will just pull out the weaving to the edge, so that's going to be fine. So we're ready for the big unveiling. And go ahead and take this off. And it lays down fantastic. I was wondering, I got a little tighter at the end, and I noticed that. So again, I want to repeat, nice and loose. Because the tighter you get, the more chance that it's going to want to curl up, but this will be fine. I'm going to be able to pull that out to the edge. So what I'm going to do now, I am going to sew an edging on this. I'm going to take a ruler, just a small ruler, and I am going to mark 1 inch all the way around the edge and draw a line there and cut the circle 1 inch. I've drawn my soap mark all the way around, 1 inch out from the stitching, and so I'm just going to cut this edge off here real quick. Now with the edge, I am going to fold it into each other. So I'm going to fold the top into the center, the bottom into the center, and line up the folded edge. I'm going to put a couple pins in this so that we can show you what I'm talking about. Then I'll move to the sewing machine and we will put the edge on it. Okay, I have 3 of those pinned. So now I'm going to go ahead and take it to the machine, and we will stitch along the edge here, and that will finish off the edging. Then we will come back. We can pull out our stitching at that time, get it a little looser, and hide in our tails. Put a backing on, and you'll be done with your project. So let's go to the sewing machine. I have the edge pinned all the way around, and I am just going to follow the edge of the rug with my presser foot and just do a straight stitch all the way around the rug. For your tails, just take a crochet hook and just go down a few rows, pull your tail and hide it in the rows previous, and then just cut that off. I am going to go ahead and put the shelf liner. I use this on all of the rugs in our other weaving videos. I'm just going to cut it. Here's just a tail left over so you can see what it is. I am just going to put 2 strips on here, rounding the edges, and then just use a needle and thread and secure the edges of the backing. Okay, so here is the finished rug. I cannot stress enough. Loose, loose, loose. Do not use tight weaving. It is going to give you a much, much better project if you do really loose weaving, and just have fun with the colors. I think that this turned out even better than I could have imagined. So if you have any questions, please comment down below and check out our other weaving videos on DIY on the house.